that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I bought sweets. I don't know if you're a sweet guy, but I did that purposely.
We need sound
Anyway.
effects. See, there's already a job for a sound effect guy.
Whoever you are, please be creative, okay? And have fun. Thanks. It is my late dad's posthumous birthday. Okay, so posthumous, for those that don't know, is basically AKA heavenly birthday. My dad is late and he passed away 14 years ago, 2010. So he didn't see Philip, his son. So Philip arrived.
So he did see Philip, unless he was in hospital.
Yeah, well, I mean, Philip came like in June.
Yeah.
So he passed away in March.
Then how is it his birthday? So it's the birth month.
So he passed away in March, but his birthday was in September.
Sorry. In my head, birthday, death day, I was getting that mixed up.
Okay.
We'll edit this out.
It's fine. It's not a big deal. So yeah, homie. Wow, I knew my dad, I think for what, 17 years. And yeah, I was literally the Lisbon child who had his heart. I think we all had his heart actually as his kids. But I was probably like the special kid who, I don't know.
So hence the special guest host. Okay.
I mean, hey. So yeah, dad was pretty dope. Just like a simple man, really simple. Enele Chami is still that guy. Oh my gosh. And now I think about it, like I think that's how he won my mom's heart. But they were married for a good 10 years, and I think just after, I think 2-3 years after I was born, they were divorced. Drama. Guys, in black families, you don't need the bold and the beautiful. It's life.
Why are we entertaining ourselves with fake stories when we've got the real ones at
The
home?
real thing. I guess that's why Mojo Lab is making a killing. But anyway, yeah. So I kind of knew him in the first 5 years of my life, and then there was obviously like this transitioning of now we're no longer living together. Now we moved out and living with my grandparents, and I in that 10 years of being with my grandparents, he was more of a AKA financial dad. It's like, Baba, I just need this. I would see him every now and then, see my stepmom every now and then. It only kind of become a bit more tangible in my teenage years when I was like, actually, kind of want to know this guy. Like, I really want to know him. He was a very strict guy. You know, he was very strict. He was quite protective of me, but an absolute lover of music. Baba does not have any education when it comes to music. He just learned by ear. So he was very much involved in the church choir. He was like the production guy of putting the music together, literally listening to every single note, understanding the technicalities of the song, organizing. He was an amazing organizer and administrator. I think that's where I also get some of those very hard skills from. But also just a lover of family and life. Yeah, and then I just remember like 2008, 2009. I think that's when he actually was getting a bit more sick. And I remember 2009, our church choir kind of made it big, and we went to nationals, and we did a local Botswana. Shout out to like the Botswana peeps, like they're just a vibe. And our church represented like kind of like the region within Soweto and stuff like that. And I remember a lot of the young people in my church, it was like their first international trip, you know, crossing the border. And he was the guy who was like, okay, guys, Lukisangi passport tera Botswana. What? We're in Botswana? It was like a whole thing. So that was like the literally the last church trip we had with him. He organized the whole thing. I recall how he was so passionate about especially mentoring like the younger men within the church choir at the time, and they themselves didn't even know how to get like a simple passport, guys. But he was the guy who was like, okay, you are going, we're getting the passport, we're getting the stuff, we're not Lugisa you know. So he was really that guy, and thankfully there was already a friendship so between him and my mom in terms of just being very civil and just cordial to each other. So that was great. I think it was December, if not Jan. I remember he was very ill. So my other older siblings, literally the three of us, had to. I don't remember that Christmas honestly because it was very dull. It wasn't as fun. It wasn't as cool as we usually have our Christmases, and I think that one was pretty dull and very. It wasn't settling because okay, here's a guy who's. I see you are sick, ne? Ke a bona hore wa kula, ne? Mare, I'm naive to the reality that your illness is actually pretty bad. In my head, I'm like, no, you're gonna bounce back. Just do what the doctor says you must do. Take your meds, rest, fight. Like, we need you. What are you talking about? I remember he asked me. He asked me. I think December, and I was like, so we have this. This is like super tradition when I go to Papa. It's like Papa, okay, report kiye, walebella, okay, mañana uberekile, batla and this time around, it wasn't like mañana uberekile. It was like, we're matric next year. I'm like, nah, bruh. Look, it's grade 11. Like, chill. Oh, grade 11. Okay. So what like we're in? Like, hey, I haven't thought that far, but I know it's within the business area, something like that. So when he asked me that I'm going to matric next year, I'm like, why are you asking me this? Like, you've been keeping up. You've been on track. And when I think about it, I think obviously in hindsight, a few years after his passing, I was like, okay, this guy knew. He knew that it's getting very short. Anyway, fast forward, Jan, Feb, things get really bad. And yeah, he passes away in March of 2010. So yeah, I mean, I think he was, I mean, I miss him. And I miss him for a number of reasons. I miss his voice. I miss how he would just his presence, but also there's very critical milestones that all three of us, you know, even my younger sister, have seen and gone through and is celebrated. And it would have been really great to just see his face, to see how he would respond, just to hear him. Even if it's just not you, just to sit with him and just be like, there's my dad, right? And I think after the passing, then it hit me like, yo, okay, yeah, now your mom's like a proper single parent now. But yeah, shout out to my dad. He would have been what? I think 65, something like that. So, or 66. Yeah, the math is not mathing today. But yeah, so that's the story.
Yeah. Look, I think there are two things I took out from what you said. I mean, you said a lot, right?
Mhm.
But I'm getting the sense that the parenting is not what you do, it's who you are.
Right.
Because I feel like the traits and the things that you picked up were through observing him and empathizing with him, trying to inhabit his world. Because he would, so like, I mean, when you were speaking about the music and you're like, this person is not trained in this thing.
Facts.
So you then had to explain to yourself, by yourself, right? I don't know if you had conversations with him about this kind of stuff, but you had to
Yeah.
explain to yourself that this person is listening, observing, listening again, and making those observations get better and better. And so that's the inner scaffolding that I'm talking about when I say that when people have gold in their soul, when people have curiosity, you can't touch curiosity.
No.
So can you teach curiosity if you don't even, you know what I mean? If you can't touch it, how do you teach it? There's no curriculum necessarily to teach someone to become curious. So that's the one thing in the story.
Yeah.
And then what would you say is the living legacy?
Oh my gosh,
And
so many.
observed not just in you, but in the family as well. Because I really don't like this idea that we lost someone. I don't like it personally.
Okay.
I prefer to see the aspects they left still being with us.
Right.
So yeah.
There's so many. I think the love for music holistically, and I don't say this with just like, oh, okay, obviously no, but like I've seen myself and my siblings being able to express ourselves with just music, whatever the case may be, and also the fact that we can stand and lead without being asked. There's a strong, unwavering, but also humbling sense of, okay, we're stepping up, we are leading. Papa was very, I guess that's why my name is Kutlwano. He wanted that. And I'm so grateful that we can fight as siblings. No, we fight. But when it's like, okay, guys, we need to work, we do it seamlessly. So I think that siblingship is very much strong. It's we are co-packed. But also more than anything, which is a very difficult one, the opportunity and the grace to forgive ourselves and equally forgive those who have disappointed us. Because I think for the longest, he did that to us. But the Lord did a work there. He was literally able to just be like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, but I really want a relationship with you. And to hear those words, guys, come. Right. So those are the tangibles. Those are the living legacy nuggets that I can safely say are there. People are often intimidated by us because we are just people. we just do what we need to do and we just keep it moving, and we don't gloat about what we're doing. This is literally, I can think of the fact that we are such a hospitable people or group that anyone who comes in our company, they just walk away feeling very different. And we don't force it upon you. Yes, we would like our own space, but that is the tangible legacy that our grandparents have left us with. You have to be hospitable, regardless. You don't know, you could just be serving the president, right?
So there's ANC connections.
I mean, Cyril has been to my place.
Guys, this is a powerful podcast.
Oh my gosh!
Our special guest host.
Wow, it's changed.
Special guest host, and so now you know that you can just put in the comments whatever you need from number one. We've got the plug.
Probably doesn't know me. But yeah, the long and short of it is that those are the tangibles, just to love and honor people as you see them, and to lead. Just take lead. It's not nice, it's not fun. Sometimes you just really wanna, take second place and allow that person's vision and then just carry it. But sometimes Papa was like, okay, we're going to do this thing. Are you in or are you out? So it's the blessing of, it's the burden that comes with the blessing, but it's good. It's good learning. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So do you have anything to say to someone who might be going through what you've gone through?
Yeah.
And is looking at you, listening to you and thinking, there's no way, I'd be destroyed. How did you get to be okay?
I think I was not okay. I'm gonna be very honest. I was not okay. I think between 2011 and 2013, and there was no any kind of counsel that I seeked. Well, yeah, like therapy, none of that. But
Even in the church?
I think the church was helpful because I had something to do. So the activities, they kind of helped with, quote unquote, numbing the pain. But post, like, grief counsel was at the time not available. But what was helpful was to talk about it. So I think talking and being very just honest to be like, gosh, guys, like, I miss Papa today. Like, I woke up and I really miss this guy. And I think to the person who's listening and is like distraught and devastated and is just trying to get over the fact that this person is officially, like, missing. I think for me, what's important is allow the process of your feelings to just take their course. Because one thing's for sure, I took solace in knowing that, yes, he's exceptionally proud of me. And I think I look at my older brother and it's good and it's bad. I mean, there was a point where he had to kind of step up to be, quote unquote, Papa at some stage, right? But also sometimes I also was a bit empathetic towards him because he probably also just wanted Papa there. And thankfully, when my late dad's older brother came in to say, I'm not your dad, but I can just be a father figure. There was a relief. Like, there was a deep exhale from all of us to say, okay, at least, right? But yeah, to the person who's listening and just is dealing, ma'am, sir, deal. Also understand the fact that, if any, that person was indirectly preparing you, right? And preparing you in a sense of whatever it is that they were teaching you directly or indirectly, that exactly was preparation. I didn't know that I would need to organize stuff at a very high level. And I saw it. I saw Papa organize things at a very high level and being extremely meticulous with every single thing. I didn't know that I would need to all, like, administratively or musically lead stuff. And that was Papa from the get go. So yeah, deal with the feelings as they come. Grief comes in different shapes and forms. It's been 14 years. You don't get over it, you just learn to live with it. But you also celebrate the fact that, man, I'm really glad that I got an opportunity. Yes, I felt robbed. Though, don't get me wrong, there was a time where I was, like, very offended to the Lord. I'm like, what do you mean you're taking this guy? Like, seriously. But then I had to understand that his transitioning was actually extremely helpful, because then he was completely healed from the aches and pains that he knew was, he was ailing from. So seek the necessary help that you need from, professionals or whatever the case may be. But also just remind yourself of the amazing times of,
Okay, but when you say deal, though,
I think,
because why I'm asking is, I'm looking at grief as like the ocean,
okay,
and I'm seeing two pictures. One is the person who lets the wave crash over them,
right?
and the other is in a boat with an umbrella. So when you say deal, I might think I'm dealing because I'm in the ocean. The waves are taking the boat up and down,
Right.
but I'm still trying to make sure I don't get any of the water on me.
On me.
Whereas if you're the person who's open and says, emotions, wash over me, let me be angry, let me cry, let me. So, yeah, when you say deal, I just need a
We
color.
need color.
Yeah.
So
Do a sip and paint there for me.
I think that's exactly what I mean. It took me a while, and I think I'm also just learning as I grow to be very vocal about my feelings, right? I think we kind of touched base on this a while back, but I was never a I feel A, B, and C. It was just like, okay, I feel it. I'm not going to vocalize it. I'm going to find a distraction so that I don't have to think about it and actually do the hard work, the life admin of having to unpack this thing. Because I'm just like, no, it's too much. I just want to get it over and done with. We move on to the next activity, we move on to the next task. And that has always been my default. Whereas when I think about it now, it's actually been extremely unhelpful because, I mean, there's been other traumatic events that I've encountered where the after effects of it were anxiety attacks or just like being extremely suspicious of individuals, which is extremely unhealthy. And so when I mean deal, holistically, I mean let those feelings wash over you. Allow the feelings to take their course as it's taking place. Because again, I go back to the analogy or I go back to what I'm saying to say grief does not, it's not an event. Like it's progressive, right? And I know people who have lost their people many, many years ago, but the wound is so fresh that even now they just to this day they feel like, man, I really wish this person was here right now. So yeah, allow the emotions, allow the process, allow yourself to be vulnerable. That's really what I mean.
Because when I think about death in particular,
Yeah.
there's an element of, but I want this stab wound to remain a stab wound because I'm scared I'll forget them. And so I think there are some people, and look, I've had death, but I've never really lost a parent.
Right.
And I can imagine the physical nature of wanting that wound, because that wound now is your connection to this person. And if it was to heal, there will come a day where you can't see the wound anymore. And I can see some people then hoarding that wound, hoarding the scars.
The scar.
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, that's I don't like that. And I think also that's probably something that I feel strongly about to say, okay, I'm not gonna physically get this person back now, right? But I can at least hold on to the amazing times we've enjoyed together. I can have conversations with those that were closely connected to him to say, hey, man, what do you think of this and how did he deal with it? Or what do you miss about him? And get a different, fresh perspective. Because I think with the hoarding of the wound, I know you are still in some shape or form in denial of the fact that physically they no longer. Yes, you want to be in some shape or form connected to them. I'm just like, yo, if you want to be connected with them, I'm a praying person. So if any, I'm just like, okay, Lord, today's tough. Today's really tough. I'm not sure why, but this is the story. And please allow, as angry and upset or confused as I feel right now, can you just help me to just process what's happening? Because maybe something happened during the day that triggered and reminded me of that particular situation. Yeah, so Does it hit different when you lose a parent? It sure does. You kind of, you minus one. Literally, this is what it is. Like, you are minus one. If you're minus two, then you're like, yo, okay. You know, and yeah, and I don't minimize those who have lost both their parents, of course. But the reality of whether you lose them when you are older or younger or in the middle, it still hits. I recall I was having a conversation with an older man in my church, and he was really ill. Like, he was very sick for some time, and he recovered. And I visited him, and I'm like, "Why are you still stressed? Why are you going back?" It's like, "No, it's my mom." Like, "Your mom?" Like, "Yeah, she's just turned 89 today, and she's in an old age home. But like, they went and visited her, and she's not well." I'm like, "Dude, are you serious?" You know, I didn't say that, but like in my head, I'm like, "Wow." It's like, "Are you that closely connected with your mom?" And he said, "Yes." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. I respect that. That's amazing. But you do realize that your mom, literally, the Lord has just added a bit more years for her to still remain on this earth, but you need to get better. You need to actually get better to still be able to support your family." And I don't minimize the fact that her ailing health is aching your heart, but the fact that you are ailing is aching your family's heart, you know? So things like that, I think one needs to be cognizant of the fact that if they've lived and they've done that the best that they could, and you witnessed the things and you were a recipient of that, yeah, you don't survive. You can, I think, have a bit of a grateful heart towards, man, I learned quite a bit about this person. I actually even learned a lot more about myself. So that's how my approach has been.
Okay. Now, the last question.
Yes. What's up?
I have been having this debate with myself for some time.
I feel like it's
Around-
going to be a hard question, but okay.
No, but it's a quick choose one or the other.
Okay.
Is God more truth or is God more love?
Both.
Choose one.
I can't. It's both.
Okay. There you have it. Wear your heart on your sleeve. This is Hoy's Radio. Thank you very much, KGSGH.
Hey.
KGSGH.
We'll get it. We'll get it.
No, we're gonna make that a sting. KGSGH.
That's me.